Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Since Europeans conquered about 85% of the globe by early 20th century and continue to dominate the world, the only stories that are widely spread about the process of colonization and conquest are the Eurocentric ones. This lecture we will attempt to provide alternative. Eurocentric narrative goes roughly as follows: that the entire humanity was mired in darkness and superstition, and suddenly, for no apparent reason, Son of Reason arose in Europe in the 16th century. The Europeans discarded superstition and ignorance and learned to reason for the first time in human history. And in the light of reason, they made tremendous progress in all areas of human knowledge. And nothing like this has ever occurred before in human history. And once they realized that the whole of the rest of the world is darkness, the Europeans expanded through the globe in order to bring the benefits of their civilization to the rest of the world. And today, for those of us who are non-Europeans, the only path to progress lies through acquiring this knowledge and this advances that were made in the process of enlightenment. So this is the narrative that we have all learned, and we will try to create a counter narrative to this one. Since history is written by the victors and not by the vanquished, it celebrates the glories and power of the victor and denigrates the victims, and tends to be a seriously flawed narrative. Nonetheless, because the victors are hegemons and control the process of education and influence the minds of all of us, we have all absorbed these narratives. In fact, global conquest, the larger part of the power of the conqueror lies in the soft power, the colonization and conquest of the minds. And therefore, if we want to liberate ourselves, it is necessary for us to learn the truth. Some of the major flaws in this narrative have been developed by the world systems approach due to well-known historians like Pirenne and others. And this says that all civilizations have played an important role in weaving the fabric of history. Furthermore, the European Enlightenment was not caused, but actually it was caused by a flood of knowledge that entered European Middle Ages via the reconquest of Islamic Spain. And the rejection of religion and the rise of science created some benefits, but also incurred huge costs in terms of loss of morality, which have been neglected in the Eurocentric account. We will not be able to cover any of these topics in any detail in this short intro. A crucial year for the rise of Europe was 1492, in which Columbus sailed the ocean blue and made available the immense treasures from the two Americas to the European conquerors. In the same year, Cardinal Rodrigo Borgia purchased the papacy and ascended the throne of popes, and started or continued a period of extreme corruption of the popes, which led to the Reformation, the rise of the Protestants, and tremendous fights, and eventually the rejection of religion as a basis for politics by the intellectuals, and loss of faith in general public. The third major event was the fall of Granada, the last hold of Islamic Spain, and the completion of the reconquest. And this made available a huge treasure of knowledge to Europe, which was the cause of the ending of the Dark Ages of Europe. This short talk, we will address only one question, and that is the question of why did Europeans lose faith in Christianity? The standard narrative that Europeans tell us is that religion, they realized, was ignorance and superstition, and when they learned to reason, they saw this clearly, and they abandoned religion in favor of reason. This is entirely false narrative, but it is widely believed, and so learning the truth is of great importance in this context. And there is no monocausal history. There is no one cause which leads to outcomes, but generally history is complex and driven by multiple causes. Here the causes of the loss of faith, I've listed 4 of them, and there are many more. One of us is the corruption of the Renaissance popes, which is the topic of this uh, lecture and recording. And the second was that the consequence of this was the barbaric violence and wars among the Christian sects. This has been highlighted by many authors. The third reason was the unrealistic ideals of Christianity, like you should not marry, you should not have material wealth, etc. These were ideals not meant for the general public, but having unrealistic ideals and then having them flouted openly by the higher Catholics led to the conception of religion as a hypocrisy. And this was one of the major causes of loss of faith. And the fourth cause was the Lisbon earthquake of 1755, which was a major disaster on a holy day, and that really shocked Christians who could not conceive that a God could be so cruel. And so there was a lot of emotional impact of this event. The sequence of events goes something like this. The reconquest of Spain led to the influx of massive amounts of knowledge. The Catholic Church did its level best to try to suppress this knowledge by imposing censorship and making sure that every publication must carry the cachet of the Catholic Church in order to be published, to make sure that no dangerous philosophies were introduced. But nonetheless, a huge amount of knowledge which was not aligned with the Catholic Church's worldview did manage to escape, and this eventually led to the Reformation, the rise of the Protestants, and then fights among Catholics and the corruption by power of the popes. All of these things had a major impact on the loss of faith that occurred in Europe. Detailed description of these events is contained in my article, European Transition to Secular Thought. There is a short link provided to this in this slide. And about the 4 causes discussed earlier, there is a detailed lecture on this called Entanglement. It is the 13th lecture in Advanced Macro. The YouTube version of this, the YouTube lecture, 90-minute lecture, is also linked on this slide.